Okay, hi everybody. I'm Greg Fishel, and I have a very special guest with me today. And I'll explain in a second why I picked this individual guest. But his name is Craig Setzer. I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yeah.
And you were in television for a good long while, right?
37 years. Crazy, huh?
That is exactly the same length I was. So we're both dinosaurs, right?
That's right.
So what station were you at one station that whole time, or was it a number of different ones? Or
Right. So I was in Colorado Springs for a while, and then I worked in Tampa for a few years, and then I was in Miami for the majority of my career at the CBS station there for 22 years. So kind of
okay,
a long time in one market for some, for others, it's just like a flash.
right. Now, so I have to ask you this question. Is there, and I think I know the answer, but is there life after TV?
Is there life? Oh, wow. I don't know about you, but I don't think about TV much in terms of missing any of like the hours that you work, being always thinking about the weather. Are you going to have to be the up weather today or the lead of the show? Even on weekends, am I going to have to work? And then on holidays too. I mean,
Right.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much of an impact it is on your life, being a meteorologist on TV, because like you're just, you want to be good, and so you always are aware of what's going on in your market.
Yes, exactly. And I know that as much as we all have a passion for the weather, and that's why we got into the business in the first place, as you get older, I think you realize that there are other priorities in life, and your time on this planet is limited,
Right.
and so it's nice to be able to delve into those other things. So the reason that your name came up is that I know you know Ed Piotrowski,
Mhm.
who's the chief met here in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And I've known Ed since he was a student at NC State back in 1990. So we go way back. And so I am going on a Royal Caribbean cruise next week. And he said, well, you know that Craig was hired as like the chief met for that entire cruise line. And I'm sitting there going, I got an idea for my Patreon. So I guess the first question I'm going to ask you is, are you responsible for all of the geography that these cruise lines cover all over the world?
So yes and no. I don't handle the day-to-day weather operations. We have weather vendors that do that.
Okay.
Most of the weather, the captains can handle and the ships can handle and everything. I get involved when there's like a critical weather event for a ship deviation. If we have to like maybe miss a port or change the itinerary, that's where I get involved, because not only do we want to really be, careful safety wise, but also we don't want to just say, well, we can go there maybe when we shouldn't, and we're going to have problems because we get stuck in a port, and that would blow up the next itinerary. And we don't want the guests to have a bad experience.
Right.
I've done some weather routing and even some forensic meteorology legal work with shipping companies and containers. I mean, it can be pretty rough out there, and they just keep going. Guests are the containers that complain if the cruise is not an enjoyable one. So I'm not only looking out for where our ships should avoid, but also keeping the guests comfortable and trying to avoid big seas and not miss ports.
Right. And I know that I've never had now I've only been on one cruise in all fairness, and this was my in-laws 50th wedding anniversary back in '07. And everything went, perfectly fine. But I talk to people that they say they don't have a problem while they're on the ship, but then when they get off of it, they feel like for a couple of weeks they're bouncing up and down. So is that a common response that you get?
It is. I think you adapt. Your brain is a wonderful organ, and it kind of adapts to the motion of the ship. And then when you get off, sometimes as you're walking, you'll find that your body and brain are still trying to adapt and normalize once again. I've got some friends that they used to have a cat on their sailboat, and they said they couldn't get the cat off the sailboat because once they put it on the dock, the cat would just squat down and refuse to move because it was so used to everything moving gently as opposed to the stationary and stillness of a dock.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So, well, and they always say that animals are so much more sensitive sometimes to things than human beings are. I remember we had a big tornado in Raleigh back in 1988, and some of the testimony in the hearing after that was that this guy's dog was going absolutely crazy, like a half hour before the tornado
Wow.
even hit. But the human beings had no clue,
Right.
that anything was about to happen. So. So anyway, so this is something that I take it that you're enjoying, and how long have you been doing it now?
So I just started about 6 months
Oh,
ago.
wow.
So I
Okay.
know I left TV, like many in TV, and this is not to disparage in any way the people who are still in TV, but I just kind of got tired of the routine, the consultants saying, we need more of tracking, we need more of urgent. And I'm like, it's December in Miami. We're not tracking anything urgently. It's beautiful. When hurricane season comes, severe weather season, then you are urgently tracking. So I said, I'm done with TV. Did
Right.
some forensic meteorology, as I mentioned, for some law firms, maritime forensic meteorology. And then Royal Caribbean found me, and they liked the legal side that I had done. And they said, would you be interested? We like the meteorology side, but we also like that you could get on camera if you need to, talk
Right.
to the ships, do any type of media stuff as well. So I love it. I mean, it is. In some ways, it's almost too much of a good thing. My boss said, "Congratulations, you're drowning in your success."
That's not a bad problem to have.
No.
So now is there, and I probably should ask you this off camera, I can always edit this out, but while I'm on the ship, is there a chance that I could interview, like, I don't know, one of the captains or something like that, just to give people back home a feel for what they do and how they do it?
So usually that needs to be set up ahead of time. It goes
Okay.
through our corporate comms department, and I can kind of introduce you or make the introduction and see if we can set something up, because I mean it's fascinating. It really is, and you're on like a resort on the water or a hotel on the water, going to different places, but you really don't think about all of the other little pieces that are coming together. I work in what's called the marine operations side, so I deal with the ship, where it's going, the navigation, the nautical side of it. I speak directly with all the captains when there's a weather issue. But there's the hotel side of it, which is the guest experience, which is food and beverage, fueling, as well as things like provisioning, even the waste management system on the ship. It's like a little city
Right.
on a ship. And so all the things that you have that could go wrong in a city can go wrong on a ship. Fortunately, we've got lots of engineers and experienced people that are always maintaining that equipment.
Okay. Now, what was the video I saw recently where there's one of your ships where you're building like a central park or something like that?
Yeah.
That looks unbelievable.
It's crazy. So our Oasis class ship, which came out about 10 years ago, Oasis of the Seas was the first one. I think we've had 7 since. I'm still learning my ships.
Right.
Oasis, Symphony, Harmony are just some of them. And they were built with this idea of neighborhoods where you could go like to one area where there's a Ferris, a merry-go-round. You go to one area where it looks like it's outside and you've got trees and vines and plants, and there's a little walkway. There's another area that's called the promenade, which has like shops along the side of it. It's crazy when you first go on, it's just like, and you keep walking and you're like, oh wow, oh wow. And on those bigger ships, it's amazing. So our newest ship, Icon, just came out, and I think they have 7 neighborhoods. The back half of the ship is literally a water park on a ship. There's a almost like a beach area that they call the Hideaway. There's another area that they call Surfside, and then there's like all of these on Broadway shows or off Broadway shows that are going on. The entertainment is a whole other section of the ship that some people just go for the entertainment. I know I sound like a commercial. But honestly, I'm impressed myself that all this happens.
And is this going to be a feature on multiple ships or just one, or?
So they're kind of building it into the newer ships, and Royal Caribbean, the group which I work for what's called Royal Caribbean Group. We have 5 brands. We have Royal Caribbean, which are Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, which is kind of the family, bring your kids, it's fun, there's action, there's all kinds of stuff to do on the ship and at the ports. Then our other brand is what's called Celebrity. Celebrity is a little less kid oriented. It's more for adults who want to be greeted when they get on with some classical music and a glass of champagne. And then we have our kind of over the top brand, Silver Sea, which is when you get on, you're greeted with a butler and a caviar menu.
Wow.
I know
Okay.
you want to go on that one, right?
I want to go on that one, but I think there's going to be some savings involved in the meantime.
Right. It's a little more pricey.
So, and my son, who went on this, I think I mentioned this to you, identical cruise last year, has been, giving me advice. He said, there was one day, Dad, he said, when I never left the ship, and he said, we were in port, and he said, there's so much to do on the ship that you don't necessarily have to get off to enjoy yourself on that day.
Right, right. Which makes it really kind of fun because I mean, like I said, it's a kind of a hotel that travels with you, and so
Hmm.
you can get off or you can stay on. I'm still learning the getting off. I've done a few cruises now. I took my son as well; he's 19, and learning to work the whole shore excursion side of it. I've got the ship part down. I can find all kinds of things to do on the ship. I'm like just getting used to now plan the shore excursions, get off, experience what's going on off the ship as well.
Okay. So I have one last question, and it's actually a backtrack from what we were talking about earlier. It seems like when I got into the television business, and this was back in, well, in Maryland, 1980, but Raleigh, 1981, that the weather would never lead the newscast unless somebody's life was in immediate danger. And now it seems like it's gotten to the point where if there's a wave coming off Africa that can't possibly get here for 2 weeks, or there's one cumulus cloud on the horizon that's just a wee bit darker than another one, that weather leads. And it's like, I wonder, how does the public know the difference anymore between something that's serious and something that's not?
Right, right. That's exactly right. That was one of the reasons I got out because I was literally being pushed to make a bigger deal out of things that were not a big deal. And I really felt like, I know others that have felt this way too, that my brand, which I had worked on, for decades
Right.
and was existing in Miami for 22 years, was really in jeopardy of being damaged or tarnished because I would be labeled a hype monger or something
Right.
like that. I prided myself like you that I was a voice of reason and calm in really bad weather situations when normally you do get excited. That's when you
Right.
need somebody that is a level head, tells you what's going on and tells you what you need to be doing at that point in time.
And I want to be fair, is that, WRAL was, well, still is one of the last independently owned stations in the country. And they gave me an incredible amount of freedom. I know that when I used to go to conferences and tell people that I did a feature about vorticity or something, they're sitting there going, how the heck did you get away with that?
Right, right.
So I feel, very fortunate, but I also know a lot of people that are being forced, their hands being forced, and it's making it look like they're making that decision when in reality it's coming
Right.
from way above that.
Right, right.
So
It's too bad. It really is because I mean, you and I think we're fortunate to be alive in the era of TV meteorology where it was almost like the best of it, and we kind of unfortunately got to write it down a little bit too as it continues to shrink.
yeah, don't you sort of feel like we really were lucky in the sense that when I got into it anyways, it was just about the time that the industry was deciding we want to hire degreed meteorologists and not announcers.
Right.
And then the time that I got out of it was just about the time that maybe they were starting to give up on that.
Right, right.
So
Yeah. Too much
I can,
science, not so much science. But wait.
yeah. So I don't think maybe either one of us could have timed that any better. And it's I'm really happy for you. I mean, it's I like hearing stories like this where there is life after TV, and you can still be passionate and still enjoy what you do, but also have time for other things in your life too.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's fun when I'm not busy with the ships. Definitely enjoying other things in my life as well. Listen, I wish you a great cruise. Of
Thank
course, I
you.
checked the weather and it looks good. There's a front that's coming through right after you depart, so there might be a few showers around your day in Coco Cay, which is our private destination. Now I really do sound like a commercial. The weather looks fantastic, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I've got some pretty big surgery coming up on the 19th of January. So this is like my Christmas present to myself before
Good
all
for
that
you.
comes about.
Good
So
for you.
anyways, Craig, great to see you. And, hopefully when I'm down in that area sometime, we can actually touch base face to face. That'd be great.
Sounds great. Sounds
All
great,
right.
Greg.
You
Thanks.
take care, buddy.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye. Let's see here. How do I, oh, there we go.